Are you a fan of fast food? You know, McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell? Hi, I'm Alyson Brokaw. I'm currently a postdoctoral researcher at Lehigh University, and I will admit, even though I try to avoid it, sometimes the speed and convenience of fast food is just too hard to resist. Now, for a healthy diet, it's generally recommended that humans avoid eating too much fast food because of negative consequences on our health. Turns out the same can be said for bats, at least when it comes to the gut microbiome. For today's Bat Advent Calendar, I wanted to talk about this paper titled Agricultural Fast Food. Bats feeding in banana monocultures are heavier but have less diverse gut microbiota, a research project led by Priscilla Alpizar, a doctoral student at the University of Ulm. So instead of McDonald's or Burger King, the fast food the researchers are talking about here is banana flowers, and the bats are Pallas long-tongued bats, Glossophica soracina. So in this study, Alpizar and co-authors compared the effects of feeding from conventional banana monoculture and organic banana plantations in Costa Rica on the gut microbes of resident long-tongued bats. So it is worth noting that Costa Rica is one of the world's largest exporters of bananas, but not all bananas are produced the same. What is categorized as conventional monoculture plantations in the study are essentially these huge fields of only banana plants, which are often heavily managed using pesticides and fungicides. In comparison, organic plantations include banana trees mixed with other crops and often include native plants either along the edges or as corridors. They also don't use pesticides and are generally smaller than these conventional monoculture banana plantations. And one of the things that really drew me to this paper is that even though land conversion is considered a major threat to biodiversity, a lot of animals are considered tolerant or even thrive in these agricultural settings. But does that mean that they are actually better off? So for Glossophica, high food availability in the form of banana nectar and convenient roosting locations near the banana plantations can mean a literal buffet with a low commute and easy foraging. And a previous study, also by Alpizar, found differences in the nutrient intakes between bats that fed primarily in these monocultural plantations versus organic plantations, but they weren't able to get into the details of how this might affect bat health. So this study takes that a step further, looking at the consequences of banana fast food on body condition and microbiome in these agriculturally adapted bats. So over the course of 22 months, Alpizar and co-authors collected poop samples from almost 200 individuals. These samples were then run through DNA extraction and 16S rRNA gene sequencing to figure out the types and diversities of microbes present in the bat's guts and compare between bats captured in monocultural plantations, organic banana plantations, and natural forests. The big finding is actually in the title. Bats foraging in conventional monoculture plantations had significantly different gut microbiota. Specifically, measures of microbe alpha diversity, which is essentially the mean numbers of species, or in the case of bacteria, operational taxonomic units present in the sample, were lower for bats that foraged in these conventional monocultures compared to the other two habitats. And then when authors looked at the beta diversity, which is a way to compare diversity between two communities, so in this case, the communities being the bat gut microbes from different habitats, they found that individuals from organic farms and natural forests had gut microbe diversity more similar to each other than they did to bats from conventional monocultures. Individuals that were foraging in the monocultures also had microbe communities that were dominated by a relatively small number of families. So the author suggests that these reduced gut microbe diversity could be a sign of what's called gut dysbiosis, which is a fancy term for the unhealthy balance in these symbiotic microbes. In humans, gut dysbiosis is related to a variety of health problems, including increased susceptibility to illness and disease. For now, it is unknown if bats suffer similar consequences, but that will be a very interesting and important avenue for future research. Another interesting and important finding from this study is that bats found foraging in banana plantations, regardless of type, were both heavier and larger than those that were found in natural forests, likely reflecting the reliable supply of food found in these plantations. But beyond that, the results suggest a potential link between the gut microbiome composition and bat body condition, with specific types of gut bacteria being associated with better body condition, but being more common in bats from natural forests. It's thought that these specific microbes might help promote fat storage, which is important when resources are patchy, a scenario more likely to be encountered by bats in natural forests. So for me, this paper is a great example of why it's important to still consider the effects of agricultural practices and human activity on wildlife, even for species that seem tolerant or even appear to benefit from human activity. It also further highlights how more sustainable practices like organic farming and the presence of native plant corridors can have potentially huge impacts on wildlife. Thanks for joining me to talk about cool bat science, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your year.